You're welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Like we promised before that break, we'll be staying with the governorship election in Ekiti State, the interplay of forces, and perhaps how the conduct and outcome of this election might impact the larger picture. The one that everyone is talking about at this point, the presidential election. And joining us now to have a chat about this is Yahaya Mohammed, a member of the People's Democratic Party from Niger State, who is a journalist and an entrepreneur. Good morning, Mr. Mohammed. Good to have you join us.
Good morning, listeners.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody.
Thank you. Well, let's start with what is the main thing, politically speaking, today, which is the governorship election in Ekiti State. And I would like to ask you, because a lot of people think that the outcome of today's election, as well as the outcome of the Osun State governorship election that is coming up on July the 16th, will give an indication of what might happen next February when we go into the general elections to elect the president. Your party, the PDP, has its candidate and a substantive running mate in Atiku Abubakar, former vice president and governor of Delta State, Ifeanyi Okowa. How much of a chance do you think that your party has today in Ekiti and in Osun next month, so as to give, voters some kind of reassurance that February 2023 will not just happen, out of nowhere, because what will shape that election will start from today, leading up to 16th of July next month. What are your thoughts about your chances in today's election?
Thank you very much. I want you to understand that the dynamics that will play out in Ekiti are not the dynamics that will play out in the presidential election. The presidential election is of more people, more backgrounds, and several other dynamics. Unlike Ekiti, where it's just a small place, it's a state where people have to decide who becomes their governor. Hopefully, PDP will likely pick Ekiti today in the elections. And then also, if you go to the general elections, there are a lot of issues that will play out. We have issues of insecurity, especially in the north. We have issues of insecurity across board, across the country. So these are the issues. These are not the same issues that will determine who becomes governor in Ekiti today. And also, to let you understand something, is that most of the regions, the northeast, the southeast, and then the north central, have never been president under since we returned to this republic. So it is hopeful that the northeast, which has produced an Atiku Abubakar, and along with Ifeanyi Okowa, who is from the south, are likely going to win the election, irrespective of the outcome of Ekiti State elections.
All right. How would you weigh the chances of your party winning today's elections in light of what you've just said?
We have a candidate who is a grassroots mobilizer. We have a candidate who is Mr. Bisiku Kolawole, who is a grassroots mobilizer. He was a member of the State Assembly. He was a commissioner. He was a party chairman. So these experiences he has garnered over time, I expected to help him pull through. Hopefully, the people of Ekiti have seen what the APC can be. They have also tested what the PDP could be under Ayodele Fayoshe, who is also a key supporter of Mr. Bisi Kolawole. Ayodele Fayoshe is very strong on the street. Everybody knows that this is the man of the people. He has that touch with the street. Hopefully, that translates into votes for Mr. Bisi Kolawole of the PDP. We are very, very strong. We are very, very hopeful. We are picking the day, God's willing.
That's interesting. I mean, you said what would the dynamics that will shape 2023 will be different from that of Ekiti. But I beg to differ, because if you take Ekiti and Osun next month together, these are two states that are currently being controlled by the ruling APC. So it will be important for PDP, if you're going to have any strong chances next year, February, to at least take one out of the two, either Ekiti or Osun or both. But then, as you know, the ruling parties will not be willing to let go because, again, the number of states that a party controls will play a major role in determining how the pendulum will swing in 2023. And now that you have former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and Governor of Delta State, Ifeanyi Okowa, as your flag bearers, how do you think that, what are the permutations? It's not enough to say that the Northeast, where Atiku Abubakar is from, has never produced a president in the current dispensation. It's not just about that. It's also about the fact that what can the individual do? You mentioned security. Atiku Abubakar was vice president when the old Boko Haram thing started. And part of the reason why that government was changed and APC came in was because of the need to correct the insecurity in the state. Is there a fresh thing that you think will endear the majority of Nigerians to the Atiku Abubakar, Ifeanyi Okowa joint ticket now, beyond the fact that Northeast has never produced a president and that there is, insecurity all over the place? There was insecurity when he was vice president too.
Let me correct an impression first. Atiku Abubakar was never vice president when the insecurity of Boko Haram started. Atiku Abubakar left the presidency in 2007. The issues of Boko Haram started between 2009 and 2010. So it is wrong to say that Atiku Abubakar was vice president. When Atiku Abubakar was vice president, we saw the economic boom that happened within Nigeria. We saw how Obasanjo was able to get out a debt relief. We saw the coming of especially the telecoms. We saw the decentralization of, especially, for instance, the broadcast media which you have today. You saw so many TV stations coming out. You saw so many radio stations, and so on and so forth. But back to on the issue of Ekiti. Ekiti is not a snapshot of Nigeria per se. In Ekiti, you find the majority, maybe 80 to 90%, are probably Yoruba people. Nigeria is bigger than where you have one tribe having 80 to 90%. This is why I'm saying the issues in Ekiti and Osun would not likely determine what happens in the general election. We have seen where smaller parties have emerged against bigger parties. We have seen where parties not in government have upturned the ruling party. We are hopeful that Ekiti people have tested what an APC government can be and what the PDP government was able to do. So today, will the Ekiti people decide to continue in perpetual starvation, poverty, and so on, or will they go back to what used to be a bountiful harvest under the PDP? So the people have to decide on that. Then on the national scale, if you look at issues of security, these are the issues that will determine who becomes the president of Nigeria. The APC has mismanaged everything. Every single thing the PDP left behind, the APC have mismanaged it. Then when I came to the issue of whether Atiku Abubakar, his region, has produced president or not, the same agitation is happening in the North Central. The North Central has never produced a president under the democratic dispensation. So also in the Southeast. So we believe these zones are best qualified to produce the next president. Fortunately, when we got to the convention, the presidency emerged, presidency emerged from the Northeast, which is a balanced thing. The three zones that have never produced president agitated for it. The North Central brought Saraki, the Northeast brought Atiku Abubakar, and then the Southeast brought Pius Anyim, and Atiku picked it. So what we need to do is to rally around him and make sure that we rescue Nigeria. The most important thing you must know is that Nigeria is on the brink. We cannot continue like this. Okay, imagine the insecurity around Niger State. About 8 local governments confirmed by the governor himself that are occupied by bandits. Do you know the distance between yourself and those 8 local governments? The distance between you here in Abuja and those 8 local governments is no more than 100 kilometers. What do you think will happen if these people have access to FCT? So these are the issues that will shape the presidential election. These are not the same. You cannot translate those issues to Ekiti election. Ekiti election will be about who has performed in the past, who has done well, who has paid pensioners, who has taken care of education, who has taken care of infrastructure, and then the people will now decide. Hopefully the people will decide in favor of Bisi Kolawole of the PDP.
All right, Mr. Mohammed, talking about the people deciding, let's still stay on the presidential level and look at, in light of Governor Okowa's emergence as your party's presidential running mate, could you just give an indication of what the relationship between him and Atiku Abubakar could look like in governance, should the PDP succeed at the polls?
Yeah, I think Okowa comes to the ticket with a lot of civility. He's calm, he's obeying, he's very, very accommodating from what we have seen of him. The relationship will be cordial. Most people don't know that Atiku Abubakar and Mr. Okowa have been close ranking even before the convention. They have a very smooth working relationship. That is not to say that there are no other competent people. Just like Mr. Wike and Mr. Odom, all of them are good, committed party men who would have added value to the ticket. But when just like Okowa himself said, when there is a rush for something and one person picks it, we'll all have to rally round to make sure that the person who picks it succeed. We had presidential election where we had primaries, where we had about 17 people running for just one ticket. Atiku has picked it and all of us are rallying around him. Now that Mr. Okowa has picked the vice presidential ticket, I think we should all rally around him. Then secondly, Nigeria does not need a divisive leadership now. What we need is a unifier. We have been divided along tribal, regional, and religious lines. This has to go so that development can take place. Atiku is a man of development. He's a man for education. He's a man for jobs. We all can see it. Unlike other people who will say they have not done anything in several years, Atiku, even after he left the vice presidency position, he was still doing things. You could see it, you can feel it, you can touch it, you can mention them. Everybody knows. Then Okowa now coming to give the backup. Okowa is a bridge between the southeast and the south-south. And probably that is what I think might have influenced his choice. Other than that, I think we need everybody to be on board. Whether the southwest, the southeast, the south-south, the north-central, the northeast, and the northwest, everybody must unite so that we can push Nigeria forward and be able to take care of whatever. Most of the things that are happening are poverty and unemployment. That is why you have insecurity everywhere. So we need somebody that can bring jobs, that can industrialize Nigeria, that can bring peace, that person that is a unifier. That person that everybody can rally around. That person that nobody will see as saying is between 95% and 5%. We need a Nigerian president. And we can have one in Atiku Abubakar and Mr. Okowa. If we have that, I don't think everybody will be... By the next dispensation, you will find out that nobody will be talking about zone or region. We will be talking about who is competent to do the job.
So let's talk about, so we are still on the presidential note, but let's go back to Ekiti State. Of course, we've just seen Governor Kaide Fayemi casting his ballots there. And let's talk about INEC, because that's we also have to give kudos to them in terms of what we've heard so far. Let's talk about your outlook on how things are going to run smoothly today, whether or not, in that regard.
Yeah, we are very hopeful with the improvement on the voter verification with the beavers. I think we are likely going to see a very transparent process, even though we are not on ground to know everything that is happening. But we are getting reports. We are getting feelers that everything will run smoothly. We have seen certain reports on your television where the reporter was reporting live and he said everything is seamless. There are no hurdles, there are no issues, incidences recorded so far. If INEC continues on this path, we are hopeful that the election will be transparent. In the past, what has happened was when President Jonathan brought the innovative idea of the card reader, we had expected that this will be incorporated into our laws as early as 2019. But unfortunately, because the APC was desperate, they needed to win by all means, by crook or by hook, and they decided not to jettison it. You saw when Mr. President was saying the Electoral Amendment Act came to him too close to the elections. But that is not a good reason enough. If you are a Democrat, as he has said, if you are really out for a transparent election, you should, anything that will support a transparent process, you should be able to do it, even if it is at the 11th hour. But unfortunately, that was flinged away. We saw video clips of people sitting down in one place, voting, mass voting, and stuffing the ballot paper in the 2019 elections. So with the beavers and then with the Electoral Act, we think we are going to have a very transparent process in Ekiti. That said, that will also help a lot of the opposition parties, because in most cases, the advantage are taken by the ruling party to manipulate the process. They control the security agencies, they have influences, they have enormous resources, and they can buy off everybody. But now that we have our laws clearly stating that it must be beavers, no incident forms are going to be used, no incidents are going, or error or whatever it is manually. All the accreditations will be done, and it's a double-edged accreditation. I hope that we are going to have a very, very transparent process in Ekiti.
All right, yeah. Well, you mentioned the 8 local government areas that are sadly under the control of terrorists and bandits in your state, Niger State. So I'm wondering, is this a referendum on the governor of the state, or a referendum on the APC administration led by Muhammadu Buhari? And what will an Atiku Abubakar presidency do differently? I'm saying this, specifically to say that what will a former customs officer do differently as far as insecurity is concerned from what a 5-star general Muhammadu Buhari has done? Just 2 minutes, please.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
The referendum was passed by the governor on himself and his party. I have seen it on even television Arise, where he said 8 local governments are under the control of bandits. I have seen it when he said flags were being hosted in some local governments. So he was the one that passed the referendum on his own government and the APC government. Then secondly, you cannot compare an Atiku with a Buhari, because in the past, Buhari retired from the military service over 30 years before the APC recycled him back to power. However you want to look at it, whatever it was that he was doing, he would have been tired of it. I cannot underrate or undermine what Buhari stands for or what he has achieved in life. Yes, he's a 5-star general, but will a 5-star general be a general for life? It's not possible. You get old. You get to a certain level where you begin to underperform. So this is what has caught up with President Buhari. Atiku Abubakar has consistently upgraded himself. Even after he finished as a vice president, he went further to go and get more education. Today he holds a master's degree. We saw President Obasanjo after his tenure elapsed as president. He went back to get a PhD in theology. That is how you improve yourself, and that is how you can be able to add value in a recent development. But when you go back and sit down, you are retired, no physical exercise, no business, nothing, then you come as president, you see there's nothing you can add.
All right, Mr. Yahaya Mohammed, we unfortunately don't have any more time to carry on with this discussion. We want to thank you so much for joining us this morning.